Today we're going to take a look at an audio issue that often confuses people who are new to voiceover technology. That being the proper setting of audio input levels when recording their voice. What should the levels be, and how do you control them? Let's jump right in and find out. This is the input meter inside Adobe Audition. And if you don't use Audition to record your voice, don't worry about it. Just make sure the software you're using has an input meter where the levels are well defined, as you see here. This is how recording levels are often monitored by pros when speaking into a mic. But many people who are new to voiceover are often unaware that there are input controls further upstream that need to be adjusted first. This is where the confusion and frustration usually occurs, and it's well represented in many of the audio samples I've received during first contact with students. And there's nothing wrong with that. You don't know what you don't know. But luckily, it's easy to learn. That being said, before we start talking about meter readings inside our software, let's take a look at the devices that need to be dialed in before we start recording. This is an XLR mic. It uses a 3-pin connector and requires a device that will convert its analog signal into a digital signal so your computer can process the audio that's coming from your mic. This device is officially known as an AD converter, but it's more commonly referred to simply as an audio interface. And by the way, if you're using a USB mic, what I'm about to roll out will likely apply to some degree, and it will definitely apply once we get back to talking about the input meters in your software. On most audio interfaces worth their salt, you'll find that they also have input meters, even though those meters may not have the same look and feel of the meters inside your recording software. And these meters are used to determine how hot or rather loud your signal is going to be when it hits your computer. In this case, instead of having a linear meter, this particular interface has an LED ring around the gain knob. Depending on how hot the signal is, it will turn green, yellow, or red, much like the meter inside our software. In all cases, you don't want it to turn red, because that means your signal might be clipping, which basically means that the input is too hot and will cause distortion in your audio. At that point, it won't matter what the levels in your software are, because the signal will already be compromised before it even gets to your computer. A yellow light indicates that you're getting into the danger zone of clipping, and green means that your input signal is either at or below an optimum level. So how do we adjust these settings to make sure that we're getting a signal that's not too strong or too weak? We use the gain control on the interface. That control could come in the form of a slider, a wheel, or in our case, a knob. So let's quickly run through the motions of dialing in our levels at the interface, and then we'll circle back and take a look at the meter levels inside our recording software. First, position your mouth 6 to 8 inches away from the mic, and then speak at the same volume you plan to use on your actual project. Next, adjust your gain control while speaking into the mic until the loudest part of your script causes the meter to read yellow. Now, adjust the gain down in very small increments until the meter no longer reads yellow at the loudest parts. And if you do see yellow when voicing a project, it doesn't mean you're clipping. It's just letting you know that there is potential for clipping. In other words, don't freak out and stop voicing your project just because you saw some yellow along the way. You should look at the yellow as being a bit of a buffer zone between green and red, and you're likely to get into the yellow at some point, especially if you're voicing a very animated piece. And for those people with USB mics, you may have a gain control in your mic, but no input meter on the mic. So you'll need to adjust your levels by looking at the input meters inside your software as you adjust the gain on the mic's wheel or knob. Okay, so now that we've taken care of the levels on the interface, let's move on to the input meters inside our software. So where on the meter should the levels be here? The quick and easy answer is making sure your peak input is hitting the meter at -12 to -6 dB, as you see here. And this isn't a set-in-stone rule, by the way, because some projects will require your peaks to go above or below this range. But it is a good baseline to use for most projects. And remember, we're talking about the peaks in your audio, not the entire range of your audio. A good deal of what you voice will fall well below this range. And that's a good thing, because natural human speech is dynamic, and we typically don't want to lose that natural human sound in our recordings. So let's put all this stuff to the test by voicing a few lines of script. And along the way, I'll show you what I do to get my peaks dialed into that -12 to -6 dB range. Here we go. This is a failed attempt to have my audio peaks at -12 to -6 dB. At this point, I noticed that I was too far away from the mic, so I moved in closer and tried again. This read is much better, although I've got some room for improvement. During this read, I knew my distance from the mic was good, so that has me wondering, is the gain knob on the interface set too low? And yes, sure enough, I just remembered that I recently completed a job where I had to get in really close to the mic for a more intimate read. And because of that, I had lowered my gain level. So now I'll adjust the gain upward as I test the mic and give it a shot. This is much better. My distance from the mic is solid. The meter on my audio interface looks good, and my audio levels inside my recording software are peaking at -12 to -6 dB. So there it is. Use this method to record your voice, and you're likely to get great results during playback. Speaking of playback, the next related video will address the other side of this issue, which is setting proper output levels for your audio. The short answer is -3 dB, which is a broadcast standard. But why? And how do you get there safely? To make sure you don't miss the answers, subscribe to this channel and you'll be automatically notified when I release that video. And yes, that was a shameless plug. All right, I hope this video helped you in some way, and I wish you a very productive day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.